Hello, welcome back. My name is krayshep, and I'm going to be bringing you episode 4 of my Software Inc. series. When we left off here, we had just finished moving our uorg product from the design phase into production. So, we've just hired 2 new employees, and as soon as the day starts tomorrow, we will start working on that actual production or development phase for this. And again, last episode we did go ahead and enable the server so that everyone's sort of working on the centralized data here on the Thorin server. So I'm going to be speeding this up just a bit. We'll go. The goal is to get through a couple of products this episode and see if we can't keep growing this business. I'm going to go ahead and bring in a staff member here to clean things up. And while I'm thinking of it, I may also bring in an IT specialist here to kind of do some repair on the computers that everyone is using. So we are in the process of marketing, getting this uorg product hyped up a little bit. Wow, and I did not even pay attention to how fast we went bankrupt. Well, that's what I get for not paying attention to the funds, but we will this week get a chance to show how we can deal with loans and how loans can help you. In this case, if you're not paying attention like I was to the giant red bars of financial doom, we're going to go ahead and withdraw from. So first thing it's offering us is if we want to draw anything from our insurance fund. This is not something I've put any money into. What this does is it does sort of makes your business more attractive to potential employees. So we're going to skip that, but we are going to go ahead here and take a loan, slow the game down a bit. And what I'll do is look for a couple of contracts that can be started by our design team, and then they'll push into the production phase and get completed by our production team. So let's take a look here before everyone gets into work. Sort this by the most valuable. So the first 2 items are the most valuable, the highest income contracts, but they require artists. So we're going to avoid those and work on these more system related, less graphical interfaces. So I'm actually going to get all 3 of these embedded systems. I think I'll also pick up this logistics application. I know it looks like a lot, but luckily our core team, the designers, currently are not working on anything. And this should come into the point, these should process through at sort of a different stage. So, this project, for example, will finish up before the rest of these design projects will, and we'll kind of stagger them as they go into production. Once these contracts do go into production, I will prioritize them and get them through the system pretty quickly. In fact, I'll go ahead and put the first 2 a little bit higher priority than the rest. That way these quicker ones get done first, and we do get a little influx of money. We need to have at least 20,000. I did hire some temporary staff, so that's not going to come back to haunt us. So 22,000 last month is what it took to basically keep the building running. It looks like we're still making a little bit of money off of our original first software release here. I made about $7,000 on that profit overall. Now, it did go into the red. It cost us about $20,000 to make it originally. But we do have quite a few users. We do have some market recognition, so that's good. So that did help get our name out there. Okay, so we're design phase. We're going to flip over to development. Promote this through. Boy, that was instantaneous. That was really quick. Same thing here with this second project. And I apologize. I know I'm missing these just a bit. I probably should leave it on the 1 speed once we're sort of looking at contracts. It kind of, there's no middle ground between 1 and 2. They tend to go really fast or very slow. But we'll go ahead and let this roll here for a minute. And promote this McChicken dump stop logistics application up to production. We'll promote this from alpha to beta. And this should give us about $30,000-$40,000. That should get us going to another month. And then that next month we will be able to look for more contracts to keep us afloat. I'm still expecting that uorg will have much better reception than our Ubank product did, simply because we're doing more marketing and there are more features in uorg that should be pretty nice looking for incoming software, incoming purchases or incoming users. So we're going to let this roll through, and I'll speed this up just a bit. And you can notice here we've got almost everyone working. I think this is our design team right here. They're not working on anything because there is nothing in design right now, and that's fine. What we could wind up doing is starting another software item, another piece of software to start developing ourselves in-house. I'm wondering actually if it might not be a bad idea. Let's see, it's been a year since we released, almost a year since we released Ubank 1. I don't know how the game deals with sequels. If you notice in all of the software products, there are quite a few sequels, and if we see it here, they actually did come out about every year. So according to our competitors, well, these are competitors that have 0 users, but I assume here, yeah, some of these came out, boy, yeah, 1 year, and then 2 years. So it's not unheard of to go ahead and release a product 1 year, sort of release a sequel 1 year after the original. So maybe we should go ahead and start that for Ubank. Now that we've got a couple more active folks, it might not hurt to bring that in. So let's take a look here at the develop software. What we can do, we have to be in the correct category to use the original IP, intellectual property. So we'll go under CMS, and yeah, so once you're in the correct category of something you've already made, you can choose original IP and then tell it, hey, this is actually a sequel to something I've made. So we're picking Ubank, and we're going to name this Ubank 2, because why not? We'll stick away with the Roman numerals and just use the numerical. Alright, so this is what was in the original version, was just a file management system. Now I wonder what the pink indicates. Unless that is showing what we actually had. So these are the default options I have chosen, and orange represents what we had previously. Okay, that's fine. So we had file management and bank integration. It looks like we may have to bite the bullet and do some visualization now. I'm not too afraid of that. We do have... We did make some more hires here. Programmers. Really, it's going to be our founder that does most of the artwork, but he's a little bit weak in 2D. I'm wondering if we should send him in... the problem is now, with using a GUI, for example, if we do a GUI and visualization tools, half of our product is 2D, but only 1 out of our 3 programmers can do artwork. But then again, 27% of this is artists. So I think what it's basically telling us is some people have to have 2D skill, but only 27% of the entire project will deal with art. That's what we're going to go with. We'll go ahead and test this out. Let's also do document generation and what is this? Statistics. Push it. That would push it all the way to 100. We're sitting at 5 employees right now. Let's go ahead and keep it at 80% interest and without statistics here, because I will plan on bringing in a team leader in just a bit, hopefully when we're a little bit closer to uorg's release. But let's set Thorin to be the SCM, the source control, and here's what it says: have all code synchronized in one place, reducing the bugs and making your programmers more efficient during the alpha phase. So this is what I was talking about last episode, where we had to manually set the server. This is where you can do it from sort of the design creation part of the game. QA would decrease the artists, not really do a whole else for us here. So we'll keep it as this. We're adding visualization tools and a brand new user interface, graphical user interface. So we're going to assign that Looks like oh, that's my fault right here. I didn't look up at the dependencies. Okay, so this requires a 2D editor, of course, because I am putting in a GUI. We've not made a 2D editor, so that means we're going to have to use someone else's, which has a license cost associated with that. We do want a good quality product, maybe the most recent. So what, Frame Suite 4. I'm wondering if it would be better. I mean, I don't see any reason to not take this final 0.9. It's also of great quality. No one's really using it, but that doesn't mean it's not a great product. So yeah, why don't we go ahead and just use this no-name person. We'll give Kickbook here. We'll give them a little bit of business. So we're going to be using final 0.9 as the tool to design our anything that's 2D. So our graphical user interface and our visualization tools. So that should have set all of the dependencies. We do not want to start a marketing campaign right now. And I think, let's see, we're still looking at quite a bit of red here because we're not making any more sales when it comes to, if we look at our graph again, if I take away everything but sales, our sales has gone down quite a bit. This was the peak of when Bank hit its popularity, and then it's been, you know, slowly declining. And that's also about when I took away the marketing. I think I took away marketing right around November or December of last year. So that's to be expected there. I didn't really go into stocks yet, but since I did open this up, I'll quickly talk about it. I've not messed with stocks too much, but at a certain point, you can release new stock in your company. You have the option to then sell that stock. Basically, you issue new shares of your company. You then can sell that stock for additional money, but the problem is the more people that buy your stock, the greater the chance that someone can perform a hostile takeover. I think it's if they have 51% majority. I've not conducted a takeover on any other companies yet, so we'll experiment with that a bit and see what we can do maybe later if we can take over our opponents. And also, real quick before the day starts here, insurance policies. I mentioned this earlier. If you put money into an insurance policy, it, number one, is a boon to future employees, so it gives you better quality candidates when you go searching for a job, or going searching for a new employee. It also gives you some interest over time, so the more money you put in, the more interest you get, so it's not a bad deal. It also serves as a backup or an emergency net in the event that you run into debt like I did because perhaps things are going negative and you're not paying attention just like I was. So for the moment, since we are having some fund issues, we're going to let that sit. And it looks like this was only started pretty recently and it's already flying along, so that's good to see. We're going to take a quick peek here at and everyone left for home, so I'll go ahead and shoot this through to the next day because I want to take a look at the new all the employees and their efficiency, or their effectiveness. So right now it looks like we're about 249. I think that's across the board, 242. And our founder will always be at a flat 100. So all the things that are affecting them, and actually, why is he... Okay, because he's back at his computer working in the team environment. Again, I mentioned this in the earlier video. The environment of the room itself, all your coworkers and how they interact with each other, all those things tend to influence how effective a leader is. Now, just for a quick example, since we've got some new employees, I'm going to go ahead and quickly switch my founder into a leader role. So instead of doing whatever's needed, they're specifically going to focus on leadership. And so again, real quick, we're at 242 effectiveness. We switch our founder to lead. And then look, that's 292. So that's a pretty big increase. And that's only with our founder not even having all that great of a leadership trait. So we're going to set them back to take any job. And I will put them on the design team for the moment. I think that they should still shuffle around and do whatever's required. I really want to bring in a leader, but we are definitely hurting in terms of money. In fact, we will not make it through another month without doing some contracts. And I think we had additional... We had to... Yeah, that's right. We did have to pay a license cost. So we had to pay quite a bit out last month. The only, upside is that we had some income. So we're still looking at about... Boy, that building expansion really did kind of hurt us a bit. So that added about 3,000, 2,300 right there. Marketing costs. So we do want to get a couple more contracts in by the end of the month. I'm looking for hopefully a low quality, perfect. This should be enough to push us over the month. And at the rate we're going in programming, I'm hoping that this product will get out the door. So we're going to accept a logistics and embedded system contract, assign this to the core team. You'll notice there is a little bit of micromanagement going on when you're doing a lot of this. Okay, we're promoting it into development, we're assigning it to the first team. That can get automated later when you look under the automation button, and that was from the manage teams, and then you take a look at the automation. You can only set automation if one of your team members, whoever's in this team, is set to who has project management skill. If no one has that, you can send them to school. You go to the educate icon and send them to project management school. Get a quick MBA or something of that nature. I'm not sure what they do, but they get a little certificate, and then they can kind of automatically work on products. I've not touched this yet because this is more towards the higher end of the game. I think that you've got a couple teams, multiple teams working on different things. This will let those teams make their own products. So, you can tell them, hey, I want you guys to pre-market your whatever you make on your own. I want you to pre-market it. I want you to post-market it. I want you to, when it says use your own license, that means if this program I'm making, if program A requires a 2D editor, I want you to use program B, which we made. So that's what the use own license is for. And you can kind of guide them in what you want. So if you wanted to make games for, just RPGs or action games or something like that, you set it, and they will only pump out those types of products automatically. This is really cool. It can tell you exactly which team does which. So I'm hoping, I'm not sure this is how it works, but I'd like to have, I guess, a leadership, like a main leader. So maybe put our founder in his own group, and then he will just constantly make new products wherever, whatever it needs to be. I'm not sure if that's exactly how it works, but we'll experiment with that together and find out. And I'm really kind of learning the game along with you all. So if you're super familiar with the game, I do apologize. I like to go into these knowing some information about the game and feeling somewhat comfortable, but really I enjoy learning on the fly, getting some comments from users and figuring out where to go from there. So it definitely is more fun that way to me, because I rely on folks like Arumba or Quill or someone else like that to get my knowledge of every piece of the game. So much appreciated all their hard work to get through these games, and get the level of knowledge they're at is incredibly impressive with across the board. All right, so we've got our 2 contracts done. We're still in the first day of March, and we've got enough money to survive next month's payments. And it looks like we're coming along pretty well on UORG. So I'm going to hit speed 3. We're going to go through a couple days here. And I am really happy we started the design phase after we pushed UORG into the production area, because now our designers have something to do that you don't feel like it's wasted time. So our programmers will finish early, like way early before the design is finished, but that's still not going to really hurt us as much because everyone's busy working on stuff. And so at the end of this day, we're going to have to pay all of our employees. They will not work for free coffee. Unfortunately, I think I might work for Monster. Just give me a solid supply and I'm set. Here comes our payments. Yep, and it pulled out a good chunk of income, but we are okay, and we are ready to push in UORG into the beta phase. And we're about to go live as soon as we fix all the bugs here. quite a few bugs, but I guess definitely helps using Thorin here because this will reduce the amount of bugs you find. So we are ready. We're ready for launch. We're going to release the product. We are going to start a new marketing campaign. We're going to give the marketing team as much money as they want to mess with. If they can hit $6,500 a day, that's great. They really won't because they don't have enough staff to do that level of performance. But that's good. Unsupported server process. What's going on here? I don't really think we do. uorg. I wonder if that was a bug left over because we were developing uorg on that server. Because we're not, unless we're distributing it on that server. Let's see if we have a local. I don't think I enabled that. No, we didn't enable a local distribution channel, so yeah, Thorin has nothing going on. He's got that one process, though. Not research, not contracts, one servers. What is Thorin doing? Interesting, somehow Thorin remained, or uorg remained on the Thorin server, unless that's for bugs. There was a little section here right after the launch of the software that was a support project to basically provide support for that software and fix any bugs. So it's not really hurting anything. It's not taking up any bandwidth. So I'm just going to go ahead and let it sit there for a bit. Maybe it'll go away on its own. So this is going to be our first day. The next day we push through is going to be our first day of having a product out in the market again with uorg and... Oh, that was a lot of money. That's exciting. I have a wonderful review here. Let's take a look at the release and see how it did. On its first day, oh man, that cost a lot of money to make. But on its very first day, we already have 425 active users. Remember that Ubank, this took us since June of 1980 to hit that many users. So we are in the second day of the same month, and we already have almost as many users. So excellent there. That's great to hear. That means that we should, let's take a look at how our, I always wind up hitting stocks because it looks like a graph. We'll take a look at our sales here. We made $32,000 last quarter, I would call it, I guess, last half. So let's push through this day. We'll let our design team do their thing. Now we are going to hit our vacation pretty soon, June, July. We should be safe from any issues financially because we are going to have uorg making some money for us, and then Ubank 2 will be in development. So I think our next steps will wind up being, the next two steps will be hire another marketer to boost our marketing team, and then to also hire a team leader. From there, depending on how well uorg sells, we may be able to bring in a full-on extra developer, so that's pretty great. So we'll let this power through. I really want to see at the end of the month how much we've made. I'll go ahead and call in again. We're almost getting to the point where we can probably have permanent staff on site, which would be nice, so I don't have to let the place look too messy. And we're gonna pump through here, and we're still heading for bankruptcy. Okay, so sales obviously incredibly high. We sold $70,000 worth of software last month, which is attributed primarily to uorg, already surpassing the amount of users that we had for Ubank, and already cutting into the red, cutting into the costs of making this product. So it's going to pay for itself here probably in another month. So that's excellent. So that seems to be a pretty solid strategy. Work out contracts the first couple months with your founder. Do a simple CMS type program. You can also do an audio tool if you happen to have someone who's good with art. A lot of those smaller projects that do say, we only require 1 or 2 people, those projects are the ones you want to look for at the start. So let's go ahead. We're doing good on finances. Let's bring in, well, first we will need another desk here. Yeah, just one more is good for now. We will eventually really expand heavily once we do our first big software. What I'm kind of thinking right now is that Ubank 2 is going to come out, it's going to also provide a pretty good source of income. So Ubank 2 along with Uorg, those should provide a really good source of income for us, and that should let us really jump our team up from 7 or so to over 10, and then really it just kind of exponentially expands from there. The first big product you do, which I plan to do probably an office piece of software, something like a suite, so spreadsheet, template, presentation, all that kind of stuff. The first big one of those you wind up making quite a bit of money off that. So looks good from here. We'll go ahead and look for our new marketer. We want someone who's pretty good, so we're gonna look for a high salary. Now we look at the skills here. Again, I do really like to have that compatibility matching at a high level. We're going to go down here to marketing to see how the new person might mesh with the marketing team. And really it comes in here is Virginia, 31 years old, great marketing skill, and she'll have a good compatibility with her other coworker in marketing, even though she's just an optimistic but mean person, so that's fine. So that's our new hire for marketing. We'll pop in here and look for a team lead. Really important that our team leader meshes well with the core team. I probably should have done specialization interview. Now what I am going to do is I'm going to look through this list for someone who has a higher than average leadership trait, like right here. Because leadership trait plus the leadership skill will really determine how this person affects your team. Not necessarily someone who's got just the leadership skill. It's almost like we mentioned earlier. You've got someone who's gone through an MBA program. They know kind of how a company should work, but they really can't lead a horse to water. So that's kind of one of those things you want to watch out for. Make sure that leadership trait is pretty high. And they really don't have to have any other skills. They're going to be leading the team, doing the paperwork, getting them organized. So I think 85%. I don't know if anyone else would have a higher leadership trait than that. It doesn't look like it. So I think that was, yeah. Ernestine or Ernestine. Great mix. Perfect. You are our new team lead. You'll be joining us tomorrow. And we're still working here on the Ubank 2, the sequel to our exciting, incredibly intense banking software, Ubank. I really need to come up with better names. I think I might do that next time I do a playthrough of Software Inc., which I will do, probably with more mods on there, more that they give you the hardware options so you can create your own hardware, and then the other options that give you more customization of your features. So our new employees are in. Our marketing team is already hard at work. What I really want to see, once everyone's in the office, I want to see how that leader is affecting the team. So we'll wait for everyone to do their cycle of food and drink and bathroom. Okay. So we were at around, I think, 242 effectiveness. Oh, it's only 246. That's not good. Oh, you know what? I bet. Let's take a look. Let's find that person. We need to assign them as the leadership. So right now they're trying to do design work because they're in the any role by default. So let's change that any role to leader. And boom, we're at 342 effectiveness. Great. So, yeah, so when you do get a new employee, remember if you have them set up or you want them set up as a specialist, like I only want you to design or I only want you to lead a team, make sure to go into that tool and change it, or else they will sit there struggling with their work. I also don't think, we'll take a quick look, I don't think that there are any accessories that help with leadership. Let's see. The inbox, I think, is the best one. Yeah. Yep. Okay, so the leadership is most influenced by the inbox, which is at all the desks except for our programmers, which is absolutely fine. I almost want to put a design pad down by our founder because they're the only one that really does artwork, and that might boost their skill up. But I don't think at this point, it's such a small change. I don't think it's going to matter too much. So we're still doing great on sales, peaking We were at 38 or so, 35 last month. uOrg up at 1,000 users or so, almost paid for itself again. And in the grand scheme of things, we are, let's take a look, we want to organize this by CMS. Let's check out the users. And we're getting up there. The other workflow program has like 24,000 people, but it's a bad one. So maybe in time, if we keep our marketing going, we can really get that number up. It's much cheaper, or is it not? No, it's $2 more expensive than the other workflow. But you know what? They're terrible. It's such a terrible quality product. Honestly, $2 more. Make the change, folks. Upgrade to uOrg. Your team will never be as organized. Alright, so that was ready. We've moved now from the design phase into the development phase, and right away, I think what I'm going to do, again, another piece of software ready to go, because we just finished pushing this from design to production. We want to keep our designers busy. We want to keep that money coming in, so let's take a look at Office software. There's only a default category here, and we've never made a software product. So we want all the features ever. We really do. We've got a team of 6 or 7 at this point. Yeah, let's take a look. Yes, we want this to be a development engine as well. Let's go ahead and, folks can work on their Debian or their early versions of C. I can't even remember. I'm really terrible with programming languages before, in the early days, if you will. So, all right. So we've got the basics here. Do we want to add clip art? Boy, it sure would make it popular. We need a 2D editor. We could also make a 2D editor to use in all of our future products, which wouldn't be a bad thing per se. That way we don't have to pay a license fee. You actually don't even need that much to make a 100% expected interest product. Interesting. Boy, we might be able to pump this out really quick, and that way we could again have another product out in the market, but also use this product in our own future developments. Yeah, that's not going to be a bad distraction. I think that would be a good, quick project for our team to pump out, and then we move into future items. 30% artists, and I mean, we've got 1 artist out of our 3 programmers, so I think that fits well. All these features are still locked, so we do not have these yet. And Q&A, really low innovation apparently. Interesting. But it doesn't really affect the expected interest, and it only adds to the artists. Well, it takes away from artists needed because it adds more system. But I think we'll stick with this. Let's go ahead and make a 2D editor. I would say UDraw, but that's just, we need to come up with something more creative than that. Alright. For the moment, we're just going to go ahead and name it PixelPal. We'll make it simple. Now we have to add which operating system we want this to work with, and of course we'll probably wind up just doing the latest releases of the most popular operating systems. It looks like the most used NextView 4 and DoorSlim. Very strange. We should be able to afford these licenses. I think the license cost was 6 and 6, 7, about $13,000, $14,000, which we should be able to afford, no problem. And hopefully this will be used by anyone else than using other programs. So we really want to become the most popular 2D editor out there. We will set the SCM to Thorin. We'll start a little marketing campaign. We won't give them a whole ton. We don't want to go overboard with it. But we will go ahead and start pushing out the word. And what I'll do is make it so that uOrg is still our high priority right now. And you can see the license cost that was recently taken out of our overall budget there. Alright, so we're pretty busy right now. We've got 2 projects going. We've got 2 separate marketing teams working on stuff. Boy, this pixel pal, look how fast this already has been in the design phase. This may come out before Ubank 2. In fact, it could if we push the programming team to do it. And I'm sure it helps that we have a wonderful leader who is boosting the effectiveness way up there. So I think right now we'll go ahead and take a break for the moment. Next episode, I'd like to focus on getting both the Ubank 2 Pixel Pal out there on the market. Once we got both of those going, which we may actually want to bring in another programmer. Again, it's all depending on how our finances are doing. Once we bring in another programmer, we may work on getting those two out. Oh, Thaddeus, why are you sick today? It's the day we need you the most. Actually, it's about to be, just a quick reminder, it's about to be our vacation month. So July is going to stall us out a bit. So, yeah, let's go ahead and I'm going to skip through a couple days. I think what I'll do is I'll come back with you in August after everyone is back and fresh from their vacation to the Outer Banks or down to Florida, the beaches of Florida. And we'll be back and finishing up Ubank 2 Pixel Pal, and I'll update you on where we've been and go from there. Thank you for watching.